Get ready for the greatest roast of all time, the Roast of Tom Brady, a Netflix live event happening May 5th. Hosted by Kevin Hart, the 7-time world champion gets his cleats held to the fire by famous friends and frenemies on an unforgettable night where everything is fair game. Tune in on May 5th at 5 p.m. Pacific time for the Roast of Tom Brady, live only on Netflix.
Mother's Day is around the corner. Find the perfect gift for the mom in your life with a stunning piece of jewelry from Blue Nile. From timeless pearls to dazzling gemstones, Blue Nile has something she'll adore. Need it fast? Most items can ship overnight. Plus, enjoy guaranteed free shipping and returns. Don't miss our special Mother's Day deals. Save big on the season's most beautiful trends. For a limited time, get up to 50% off by going to BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
You ready?
Showtime.
On May 3rd, summer starts with The Fall Guy.
Let's do it later.
Let's drink a spicy margarita.
Make some bad decisions.
Yes!
Audiences are falling in love with the most entertaining film of the year.
Fall Guy.
Fall Guy?
Fall Guy.
That's what the poster said.
See Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in the movie critics say exists to make you happy.
Trying to make it out?
Nope.
Because I don't either. It's not what I'm into right now.
What are you into?
Talking.
Yeah.
The Fall Guy. Only in theaters May 3rd. Rated PG-13.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. Ladies and gentlemen, this season rolls on, doesn't it? And Liverpool score goals from open play, and Liverpool win, which maybe not everyone had that feeling at about 2 o'clock on Sunday, but here we are. And here to talk about the game against Fulham, the Merseyside derby, everything on and off the pitch, it's the renowned and the respected David Lynch. David, you're back. Where have you been?
Yeah, I just wanted to dip after that Crystal Palace result. So I just wanted to stay out of the way and never discuss it. So, I just thought I'd have a week off. But yeah, things are starting to look up at least since we've coming back to talk about a win. So that's good. And hopefully there's still some success left this season.
Yeah, indeed. And there's still big games coming up. They're all massive, as we always say, and we'll see what happens before the end. I mean, we've got to rewind to yesterday, and I want to almost take you back before kickoff, because I'd be intrigued to know your feeling when you saw that team sheet and the names on it, because I think there was a lot of surprises there for a lot of people, it's fair to say.
Yeah, to be honest, not massively surprised. I mean, when the fixture list looks like Liverpool's does or has done in the last couple of weeks, you have to make changes. I mean, I just don't think the manager had a lot of choice, particularly as he kind of went for it at Atalanta, didn't he? And really put out the strongest team he could, and in the hope that Liverpool could turn it around. And obviously it didn't kind of work out that way, even though he got a slightly improved performance. But I think coming into this one, he knew that what he put into the players' legs there, he had to account for that and make changes. And I think it looked weaker on paper, didn't it? So that was kind of a worry. Yeah. But, we've seen throughout this, it's easy to forget and get bogged down in how terrible it's been recently. I've seen say terrible. I mean, it's not really been that bad. I think our standards are crazy, aren't they, really, what we ask of these players? But, not great recently. But I think, it's easy to forget early in the season that Liverpool were making raft changes throughout loads of games as it got busy, and we just kept on winning and kept on playing well. So, this squad is better than the last couple of weeks has shown, and it's capable of making, 6 changes from Premier League game to Premier League game and coming away with a win at a really tough place to go. And Marco Silva, his record in terms of wins against Klopp isn't actually great, but his teams have tended to make it really, really difficult for Liverpool, and he's had the odd good result in there as well. So, I just thought that with all the changes that were in there, that was a really decent performance and an even better result. And Jurgen Klopp still got a lot of faith in this squad, hasn't he? And he showed that, and his faith was vindicated.
It's an interesting one you talk about performance because, I mean, the result's paramount at this stage of the season. We know that we're at the business stage. But in terms of performance, do you think the first half and the second half, the contrast was as big as was made out?
I think in the first half, really, apart from that kind of last 5 minutes, really, Liverpool were quite good. Actually, I thought kind of dominant, not massively creative, which has been a little bit of an issue in terms of like confidence seems to have gone a little bit. And I think that's a bit of a concern. But I think in terms of dominating areas and getting the ball and winning the ball high up as well, the pressing was really good. I thought the first half was kind of decent, apart from that mad last 5 minutes where Fulham were on top, and they obviously scored from that then as well. And then second half kind of stepped it up a bit, I felt, and just, were making the opportunities that would win the match and not giving away too much really to Fulham in terms of huge opportunities or anything like that. So I think overall it wasn't a bad performance and fairly decent in terms of preventing Fulham from getting good shots, apart from that mad 5 minutes, like I say.
Yeah.
Not perfect going forward, but they got the goals that you need to win. They scored 3 goals, and that's what you've got to do, really. So not a perfect performance, but I think in the situation Liverpool are in terms of they haven't played well the last couple of weeks, and it was a tough place to go against a Fulham team who've been really good again this season. You just got to kind of take that, really, that it's not perfect. You get a win. Maybe it brings some confidence back. That's 2 wins back to back now. I know the Atalanta one is a defeat in a sense, but it's 2 wins back to back. And just try and build on that, really. So not a perfect performance by any means, but it was the performance that Liverpool needed, and it was enough to win the game in a fairly comfortable fashion, wasn't it? So, yeah, you've got to sort of take that, really, in the situation.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a tough place to go. They've taken a few scalps there at the time. And also, chances were the big thing. Like Gakpo missed one. Diaz had that header early door. Salah and Nunes had chances late on. So there was a lot to like about that. And I'd bet good money on who you're going to go for this. But man of the match?
Yeah, I thought they gave it to Trent, didn't they, on Sky? And I thought that wasn't a bad shout. Thought he's just, sheer class in everything he does. I mean, got a lot of stick, didn't I, from this podcast for suggesting that he wasn't maybe your first choice right back going forward. But it's not because I don't think he's an absolutely world-class footballer. It's because I think there's a debate about maybe putting him in central midfield, maybe. But obviously that's not an option at the moment because Conor Bradley's out. And what he shows when he's in there anyway is that, like I say, a world-class footballer, his passing range, he can do things that very few footballers in the world can do. And I think he's at, you can see the real quality he's added back into Liverpool's attack when he comes in with his passing range, that ability to, I think Liverpool kind of the goals are dried up a little bit, haven't they, recently? And he's come back in and now he's really, really influencing things creatively. I mean, if they'd have got a full 90 minutes out of him at Atalanta, maybe that pressure would have told on them late on as well. That's a real shame about his fitness problems. And again, some of these games he'd been frustrated in recently. How big of a miss has he been in those? It's kind of hard to quantify that, but I think he showed yesterday that he's a very, very important player for Liverpool, and just absolutely love watching him play, and he's so influential, isn't he, in terms of not just in terms of like creating chances or putting set pieces away, but I just think he's so often like the pass before the pass as well, the sort of breaks the lines or the little dink in behind that gets Liverpool in a one-on-one situation. He's just so he's just passing just out of this world, really. And really, really good to have him back.
Were you as astounded by me because it was the 2 free kicks, obviously, the one he curls in, which is sensational. Were you as astounded by me on the first one when Harvey Elliott lines up and takes it? Were you not thinking, like, why is Trent not taking a direct free kick in that area?
Well, I guess Jurgen touched on it, didn't he, in his post-match press conference about the idea that they wanted to use one of the free kicks to sort of plant a seed in Fulham's head. And absolutely. So I guess if you're going to waste one like that, a sighter, you might as well give it to someone else and let them have a go. Yeah. And also, it puts in Fulham's mind as well that, the left footer might take this as well. So it's the dual threat, really, of what he created, because he tried to go low then, is that Fulham didn't think they could jump as high, but they also, when they're both stood in front of the free kick, they actually don't know who's going to take it, and that creates that sort of moment of little bit of uncertainty, and then an absolutely brilliant free kick and execution, and it's in the back of the net. So, I think there's value in that from time to time, and Liverpool kind of proved that in the way they opened the scoring.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, I suppose that the general theme's been from a lot of people now that it feels like if Liverpool are going to get on any sort of run and see what happens till the end of the season, Trent's going to be sort of the key person in all that. Do you see it that way? Are you thinking like, yeah, it's going to be Trent who's going to produce those moments of magic, if anyone?
I just think he makes Liverpool more threatening from all kind of positions on the pitch, and that's a massive help. But I think as much as he is huge, I think Jota is as well. I think someone who can be that killer in moments. I mean, I know he's missed a couple of chances really since he's come back, but he's obviously lacking a little bit of sharpness, isn't he? And I think the one he scored yesterday is kind of, I'm not really sure. There's only him and Salah put that away, really. I think, and Salah not really on his right foot, actually. If he's on his wrong foot, probably doesn't bag that one. So I think it's a very, very Jota goal, a scruffy one that just sneaks past the keeper because he gets enough power on it on his wrong foot. And it's kind of, you know when he gets put in that position there, when Gakpo plays him in, it's like he's getting a decent shot away here. You just know it. Even though Calvin Bassey's alongside him, you know he gets the shot away because he just does it time and time again, because it's head down, get as close to the goal as possible before I get closed down, and shoot at the right moment. And he always does it. And I think his ability to do that is kind of, if Liverpool are going to win the 5 remaining games, I think both these two, in terms of the creative aspect from Trent and just that ability to sniff out scruffy goals from Jota, is going to be absolutely vital.
It is interesting, I mean, because the forward line, there's quite a few questions around certain players, like you mentioned, is there. Jota in the middle, is that kind of nailed on for you for the last 5 games or so? I know there'll be some rotation, but as much as possible.
I don't know, really. I think it's a really tough one, that, because I think, not loved Nunez's performances recently, obviously, and that's been a bit of a talking point. And obviously, he came on yesterday and he's just constantly offside. It's just so frustrating. But you've got to take his season as a whole, and he has been a real threat, and his ability to get Liverpool up the pitch is massive. The fact he's got aerial presence in terms of, just the odd scruffy ball up top, he can chase down and use his physicality to turn it into something. So, not in the position of saying, I don't want to see Nunez in the starting 11 between now and the end of the season. But, and the fact that Jota can play on the left-hand side as well is also really helpful. So I just think there's a case for, there's going to be rotation. There's going to be whoever the two are who don't start, they've got a big role to play off the bench. So I think it's going to be horses for courses as far as the manager's concerned for me, rather than saying that Jota has to start in that central position now.
Yeah, it's 15 goals this season. It just almost feels like with Jota, what could have been if he hadn't have had those injuries. But we are where we are, and we are where we are with a bit of a surprise for Ryan Gravenberch as well, because I think a lot of people, I don't know about yourself, had him like, this is the time to bring him off before he just curls a beautiful one off the inside of the post. And do you think it could be something like a springboard for him, or is it just a good starting point at least?
I think it's going to do wonders to the player in terms of his confidence. Obviously, it's his first Premier League goal, but I think there's been some really decent performances from him this season. I think people are way too harsh on him. He's still a kid. He's coming to a new league. He's playing a new style of football, and I think there are loose moments where he gives it away from time to time. That's absolutely true, and he can improve. But I mean, like I say, he's a kid. Why? I think because of his stature, we almost expect he's going to be the finished article. But he's played a really big role in this squad getting to where it is in this season. I know it's kind of fallen apart a little bit in this last week or so in terms of, the Premier League is going to be difficult from here, and Europa League is over. But I think, you rewind a couple of weeks and everything was looking really good. And Gravenberch had played an awful lot of games in that. Like I say, not the finished article by any means, but the quality he shows at times in terms of his speed of thought and feet. His pressing's getting better. I just think there's a lot to come from him. Like I say, he's a kid, so there really is a lot more sort of development there, and you can see that the talent is there as a basis as well. And he's getting better in the pressing as well. So I don't really understand the sort of desire to write him off, or yes, he's not in Liverpool's first choice midfield, but he's 21. That's absolutely fine if he can knock around for another couple of years, and he can be a Curtis Jones figure in terms of how much he can come on and how influential he can be. And for the moment, absolutely happy to have him around the squad and a brilliant finish yesterday. And he kind of won most of his duels as well. He was doing okay on that side of the game. So I don't know. People just get in their heads, don't they? I think sometimes the players they don't like and they just get nailed on that rather than sort of taking it from game to game and judging what they see. And, if people want to have a sort of bit of a grudge against him, fair enough. But I think he can be a really important player for Liverpool going forward.
Will be interesting to see. And one person has been interested to see as well is Dutch counterpart. So Cody Gakpo, who also, I think it's fair to say, has fallen under the microscope for both camps, shall we say. But recently and yesterday, it has looked quite good, hasn't it, to be fair to him?
Mother's Day is around the corner. Find the perfect gift for the mom in your life with a stunning piece of jewelry from Blue Nile. From timeless pearls to dazzling gemstones, Blue Nile has something she'll adore. Need it fast? Most items can ship overnight. Plus, enjoy guaranteed free shipping and returns. Don't miss our special Mother's Day deals. Save big on the season's most beautiful trends. For a limited time, get up to 50% off by going to BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Hey there. Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower than low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, another one who, again, I don't understand the sort of hatred of him or the real sort of dislike amongst certain members of the fan base. I mean, at the end of the day with Gakpo, I always come back to this. He's Liverpool's fifth choice forward at the moment, and he puts in performances like yesterday. I mean, yes, he's not Mohamed Salah consistent, and he possibly never will be, or maybe he will be again. He's still young, there's still room for growth there. But he is not. Like I say, he's not Mohamed Salah consistent at the moment. But for a player who can come in for the odd game and can score goals and provide assists and be a threat, and I think physically he's pretty good. I think his pressing was really decent yesterday as well. He can that side of his game can get better, but he's got. I liked that element of his game yesterday, and again he provides an assist. I thought some of his touches are really good, and some of his work around the box is really good, and I just like him a lot. And I think one of Liverpool's issues in this last couple of weeks has been sort of the absence of killer moments from the two you probably need them from the most when Jota's out, which is Salah and Nunez, because they are your frontline forwards. That's just how it is. Maybe it's unfair that they get judged to different standards to Gakpo, but that is just how it is because of his feet and because of where he is in the pecking order. And I just think what he provides for where he is in the pecking order is absolutely fine. It's more than fine. It's if you'd have said sort of when Liverpool were just having Salah, Mane, and Firmino, and basically nothing behind that you would have your fifth choice forward would be Gakpo, and he'd be putting up the numbers he has, and he can play in multiple positions, and he has done this season in a season that's been decent up until recently.
Yeah,
he'd be absolutely made up with that. So again, I just think the criticism is really over the top and don't really understand it. And got a lot of time for Cody Gakpo, and I think he's again, somebody who can play a big role again under a different manager as well.
Yeah, and played a variety, 14 goals, 5 assists, and had a real impact yesterday.
That is amazing numbers, isn't it? For a fifth choice forward who's been shoved everywhere, as well as played in midfield at times in the early part of the season, which the manager admits knocks his confidence as well. That is crazy, and some people really don't like him. Fascinating.
Yeah, if your fifth choice forward is getting about 20 goal contributions, then you think overall it is pretty insane. I mean, you alluded to the one thing I always think with Cody Gakpo, he does suffer a bit from his versatility. Do you think he has looked better on that left side, particularly? That's seen a bit of an increase. Do you think that role suits him more than anything else?
Well, I think what's good for him going back there is kind of, it feels really natural to him. He's played a lot of his football there, hasn't he? He plays for the Netherlands there. He played at PSV before he came to Liverpool in that position a lot. So I think it's really natural. But I really loved him in that centre forward position when he first came in, and I thought, and having Nunez on the left hand side and Salah, so it really did look like that Salah, Firmino, Mane thing, didn't it, in terms of how that worked? And I still think if Liverpool have the right profiles of forward, that can work again. I think where it goes wrong when you do that is when you put Diaz on the left hand side. It kind of doesn't work when you do that, because he's more of a midfielder than a centre forward, and he doesn't sort of make those similar runs. But I think if you have Gakpo in that central position, and Jota or Nunez on the left-hand side, and obviously Salah on the other side, it absolutely can work. And again, I also think Gakpo's played quite well when he's been on the right this season at times as well, which again wouldn't probably be his most natural position. So I just think he's got versatility that's worth using, accepting the fact I don't probably want to see him in midfield, and the manager said he doesn't want to see it either. But that versatility I think is worth using and has been worthwhile this season, particularly when Liverpool have had as many injuries as they've had and issues with that. He's been really, really important, not just in terms of the numbers he's putting up, but filling in everywhere and never complained and kept working hard through it as well. So yeah, I like I said, got a lot of time for him, and really happy with his performance yesterday.
Yeah, will be interesting to see how he goes from now till the end of the season and where he plays at the same time as well. And I suppose yesterday, you could probably sense it. There were a few sort of moans and groans that we were controlling possession, but as with Atalanta a little bit, and I kind of get it, there's this element, it feels like, in the last few weeks. I know you mentioned whether you think it's confidence, but we do seem to be knocking it around at the back, sideways to side, really struggling to sort of penetrate between the lines, get in behind. What do you kind of put that down to, if you see it that way as well?
Yeah, confidence is the one I would put it. Yeah, is exactly how I would sort of say it, really. I just think, there's a few things happened in this little run for Liverpool, basically, which is kind of, I think fatigue's been a big element of some of the collapse. I think, in fact, the biggest element for me, really. I know some people disagree with that and they want to say that these players are cowards or whatever. But I do think fatigue was a big part of it. And then what's happened off the back of the fatigue really costing them is then confidence has been sapped by a couple of bad results. And so I thought physically they looked a lot better yesterday, but that confidence, you have to build that back, don't you? That has to come back, and that's why the performance was better in some elements yesterday, in terms of they didn't look wide open, they didn't look like they could be got at as easily. I think physically the press looked really good, and sort of that seems to be coming back and a lot more compact than they have been in the Palace and the Atalanta games. I mean, one actually, just go off on a quick tangent on that because we didn't get to discuss it, is that so much of the talk around the Palace and the Atalanta first leg was about Liverpool missing chances. And I don't believe that at all. I mean, that was one element of it. And if they'd put the chance away, they could have won both those games. But I thought it almost would have been papering over the cracks in terms of they were two bad performances. I thought Liverpool were wide open all the way through them. And they gave up 5 XG across those 2 games, which is it's terrible and unheard of, really, for Liverpool to kind of do that in 2 back-to-back home games. So that defensive element and the wide openness, the lack of compactness, that for me all came from fatigue and the fact that this group of players were a mix between kind of the ones who hadn't got any rhythm because they'd just come back from injuries and the ones who had played through all the moments where players were injured and just looked absolutely dead on the feet. And that for me was, and then so what happened is that fatigue cost them in those games, and then after that it was lack of confidence. And as I say, then they're kind of trying to build that back now, because that fatigue element, maybe they've got it out of the system a little bit. Players are just looking a bit more fresh now, a bit more rotation's been going on, and players are getting back there. But they have to build that confidence element now, which is why I think a win like yesterday, not a perfect performance by any means, but they didn't look fatigued, which was great. And they scored the goals from open play. They won 3-1. I think that's really good for confidence. I'm hoping that will be kind of what gives them a little lift now to try and win these next 5 games, because if they do that, they give themselves a chance and kind of see what happens. And, that, like I said, that's all they can do. But I think it was kind of a couple of things came together in that run, like I say, fatigue and then confidence off the back of that combined to put together some really poor performances. But I think the trend is maybe upwards now, and Liverpool have to make the most of that.
Yeah, it did feel like a perfect storm of disaster, but hopefully momentum till the end of the season and see where it goes. And maybe one player that's fallen, and I understand this a little bit, Mo Salah's always going to be under the spotlight because he's the talisman, the wages, everything that goes around with Mo Salah as well. What have you made of sort of the spotlight and the focus that has fallen on him for the wrong reasons probably in the last few weeks?
Yeah, just no getting away from the fact he's not been very good, has he? Or certainly not anywhere near his standards. I think you could see this coming really since his injury. He'd scored sort of 4 goals in 5 games or something like that straight off the back of coming back, but didn't kind of look himself even then. And I think, since then sort of goals have dried up a little bit. Obviously when he got the penalty in Atalanta, but not really from open play. And I think he's obviously struggling fitness-wise a little bit. I think obviously that injury has sort of knocked him a bit. It's very rare that he gets one at all. So, I mean, my hope was that the injury would kind of help him and that we'd see a fresher version of him because he'd had a kind of rest of sorts, but it kind of hasn't worked out that way. I think he lost a lot of rhythm in that period that he was out, and he's struggling to get it back. But again, it's one where you've got to remember that at the start of the season, he was absolutely out of this world. I'd say the best player in the Premier League in that period up to his injury, and I absolutely stand by that. So it's not like he's suddenly finished now or whatever. I mean, yes, there's a discussion to be had around the potential decline that's going to come and whether this is the time it kind of starts. But I mean, I still think even if Liverpool kept him for another season, there's so much more to come from him in terms of, he will still always be a goal threat. And I don't think it's going to be a collapse like, suddenly go over the hill and he's finished. I just think he's struggling a bit with, again, it was a bit of fatigue in and around that kind of lack of rhythm, and then confidence has been hit a little bit. But, these next 5 games, he can be massive. We know that, and I'm sure he will be. I just think, maybe a little bit of a rest yesterday will do him good. Try and get a bit of rhythm back if he can in training and see what happens. And, if you can get a goal in the derby, that would be huge for him in terms of confidence and kicking him on till the end of the season.
And he has got a good record against them, yeah. So let's hope that continues as well. Yeah, 3 points, couple of goals from open play. The result was important yesterday as well. So there's a lot of positives to take. And I mean, off the pitch, everything's a buzz still, isn't it? And you probably know where I'm going to start you on this with the manager, head coach search, whatever we want to call it, that there's been a lot of articles there, and it's interesting strapline on this, that Michael Edward, Richard Hughes will be brave. That's the one I've seen that's come up from quite a few people. Amarim's answered questions, hasn't it, or been asked directly in press conferences, so that talked a buzz. What is the latest that would you say on this situation?
To be honest, not a lot. I mean, I think it's interesting that Jose Mourinho was at Craven Cottage yesterday. Yeah. That would be a shock, wouldn't it? That would be a brave appointment. But yeah, not a lot to say at the moment. It's kind of gone quiet. I think it's going to be quiet. I still have Amarim as the front runner, in my opinion. I think that's clear. I think if he just looks the outstanding candidate, and I think Liverpool have liked him for a long time anyway. So, obviously it's a shame he couldn't get Alonso, but I think Amarim became the front runner as soon as that sort of fell apart. But I mean, some of the updates from journalists it amazes me really that people are willing to do this. Is that some of the constant stream of updates of things that are allegedly happening, and I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But it's kind of embarrassing really that people do this and they're willing to just make things up. I just can't understand it really. But it's in the same situation. I mean, there's someone I talked to about that a couple of weeks ago before I was off, sort of just said, it's embarrassing really that some of this stuff that's coming out and being said, it's just nonsense really. It's not that far advanced, but obviously he's on the list and Liverpool do like him. So it's one of those. I think Liverpool, there'll be talks going on with representatives. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But it's kind of one where they've got to be respectful to the situation Sporting are in. They don't really need this massive noise going on while they're in the situation.
Yeah.
They could win the title, couldn't they? So it'd be kind of nice to have no distractions and 5 games to the end to try and win it and see what happens. So, just take everything that's said about this at the moment with a pinch of salt, particularly with the position Sporting are in. Maybe if they clinch the title soon and things will start to accelerate, but it's at the moment it's kind of quiet, and I expect to stay that way because Liverpool don't want to annoy anyone. They don't want to sort of make noise around people, and that'd be the same for any candidate, but particularly Amorim because of the situation they're in. So yeah, just take everything you read at the moment with a pinch of salt, and let's just wait because it's got to develop soon, but it's not as far advanced as some would like to say at the moment.
Yeah, people are desperate for updates, aren't they? And that's why they'll sometimes look into stories that have Amorim purchasing flats in Liverpool and things like that that are broken on Twitter. But it makes sense. I mean, the bookies have got him 1 to 5 or on as well.
I mean, it's kind of my understanding that his representatives have asked around sort of areas to live in Liverpool and sort of made inquiries on that front. So that's kind of interesting. I think, at the very least that shows you that his people are doing their due diligence in case this is something that does happen. I don't think it means that it's absolutely nailed on and they've shaken hands on anything, but it does show you that conversation is kind of happening and that it's a thought in his mind that he might go to Liverpool. But yeah, like I say, long way to go yet, and we'll sort of keep our ear to the ground in terms of how that develops over the next couple of weeks.
No doubts. Yeah, we've got our potential title hopeful to win. Sporting have got a double, so yeah, it probably will stay quiet in that regard. And off the pitch as well, a name that might not be known to everyone, but David Woodfine, I think, was the former head of loans. I think his role, he's coming back. It does seem, as people would call it, the suits traditionally, but that area behind the scenes is really ramping up. Obviously, we know about Richard Hughes, Mark Birchall, the former staff coming in, and now David Woodfine. Do you feel like Michael Evans is really now putting his stamp on this whole piece?
Yeah, I've been kind of surprised with the speed at which it's moved, though. I suppose it had to, really, in terms of having to get everyone in place before the summer, because it's a big summer where they've got to appoint a manager and maybe make a couple of tweaks to the squad as well. So it's it's interesting how quickly it moved. But I think David Woodfine coming back is quite an interesting one, because I think it really does emphasise, doesn't it, how much there was a kind of clash there with Jurgen and the recruitment staff, and how things had changed around that. That's not a criticism of the manager, by the way, because I think, like I've said many times, I think Liverpool's recruitment record has still remained pretty decent. I think even with Jurgen Klopp sort of really leading it. But I think it does show you, doesn't it, that so many figures coming back, that Liverpool are very much going back to the old way of working, and it's going to be even more stats led, I think, and sort of that analytics will really have a hold on Liverpool's transfers. So interesting that he's come back into that assistant manager, assistant sporting director role as well, which he's kind of followed a similar path to Julian Ward in that respect, because he was loans and pathways manager before he became assistant sporting director, and then obviously sporting director very, very briefly before he left. But it's an interesting one, and like I say, it does say a lot about that kind of discord that was there over recruitment that Liverpool kind of tried to deny a lot, really, at the time. If there was any sort of disagreements or clashes on that, but it's clearly they're going back to a different way of working now, and that's I think that's interesting. We'll see what the sort of results and the fruits of that are.
And we get it. No one was ever going to criticise the manager for obvious reasons. I think Jörg Schmadtke let the cat out of the bag, didn't he? He said, no, I get given the targets and my job is to negotiate them and do the deal type of thing. I think that said a lot about where the recruitment is. It will be interesting to see how that works, but a lot of moves behind the scenes, no doubt. And I mean, the games come thick and fast. As much as we celebrate Sunday, it's a big one, isn't it? It's the derby on Wednesday before West Ham on the Saturday. I mean, the derby feels massive for both teams for obvious reasons when you look at where they are in the table. We talked about rotation for Fulham, which was obvious. Are you thinking, especially in terms of the midfield and the forward line, are you expecting full rotation again type of thing?
Yeah, I think he's going to try and sort of freshen things up, and I think it makes sense in midfield as well, because I think you think about bringing the likes of bringing Szoboszlai back in, bringing McAllister back in. That kind of looks first choice midfield maybe on. Actually, there's an argument for Curtis Jones as well in there, isn't there? It's going to be interesting to see how he actually goes about that. because it's got, it's a kind of different game, isn't it? Really, Jurgen's record's not great there because it's not really sort of a football game. It's a lot of the time it's kind of a war and see if you can nick one. It's that kind of game. So his selection for this one's going to be really interesting, actually, about how he kind of goes about it. I mean, it's not one where I'm not surprised he's put Harvey Elliott in for Fulham rather than Everton, because I think of the type of game this is going to be. But it's interesting, really, because like I say, you've got Curtis Jones there as a starting option, maybe to come in. Does that mean McAllister dropping back into that holding role? Does he need Endo to be in there to win headers? I thought he took a little bit of a step forward yesterday, actually, in terms of his performance. Not perfect by any means, but he dipped a little bit for me recently, and I thought some elements of his performance kind of liked yesterday. So really, I think there's some really sort of interesting selection decisions around this one. I'm going to be sort of fascinated to see how he goes about it, because that rotation was there, he's given himself a lot of options to maybe come back in for this one. So see what he goes for.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of one cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.